participatory, like arenas and stuff. How do we deal with those conflicting demographics when we're sitting at council table? And you know, how would you go about trying to satisfy the needs of both ends of the spectrum?
To be honest, I'm not even 100% sure that they are conflicting.
Perfect.
To be quite honest with you, I think.
What do you mean with that?
Well, I mean, of course, depending on your age group, of course you're going to want different things. But essentially, from what I hear anyway, I know a lot of people, youth that like elderly people would love more walking trails.
Good point.
Absolutely, they instead they don't necessarily need an active basketball court, for example. I mean, they would use it absolutely. They love playing basketball and other sporty, if you will, facilities like that. But they also don't necessarily conflict with the wants of the older.
Oh, that's interesting.
People.
I mean, and again, there's the kind of perspective that I think we need on city council, whether it's with younger councillors or whether it's with a youth council, providing that kind of feedback. I think the perception is that you've got two different age groups, they've got two different sets of needs. Well, what you're basically saying is you don't really feel that there's as big a conflict as people think.
No, I mean, of course there are differing priorities depending on the age group, but I don't think it's as large as.
Good. So it's not a matter of we have to select one over the other.
No, not at all.
So cross-country ski trails would be just as important a priority with young people as it would be with older people, and downhill skiing is something you may not find a person my age doing, but our priorities can be there mainly because a lot of the older adult priorities are things that would encourage their younger children and grandchildren to stick around Sudbury as well. And I think you're right. I think that's where it starts to merge, where you're starting to look at this long-term vision for your community. So that's good. That's good to hear. The senior citizen, the senior needs, the needs of seniors and elderly, and in particular in housing, is always coming to the table when we're talking about what the next council is going to have to do. Finding affordable housing for our seniors, for people that are on, low incomes. What do we? Have you done any thinking on that, or how are you going to approach those kinds of challenges?
Not as of yet, but I do believe that seniors have paid their, at all levels, federal, municipal, and provincial, they've contributed so much and have played such a big role in their communities, and that made this city, province, and country as great as it is today. So I feel that we should be putting more into them for affordable housing, personal care, and all sorts of.
Okay. Any ideas on how we can do that? And again, not break the bank still, or not interfere with the private sector, because there does seem to be a real lack of, units, apartment units, and condos, and low rent housing. There's a lack of this kind of development in the city, mainly because it's not profitable for developers. Mm-hmm. So how do you have any ideas on how we can encourage the private sector developers to get involved in these kinds of things? Development charges have been in the news lately.
I think the bottom line is we have to convince everybody that what is good for this seniors is essentially good for everybody in the economy. Keep housing costs low. That eventually it'll come back into the economy, mm-hmm. and it'll therefore renew or revitalize the economy.
Okay.
What is good for the citizens is good for the whole.
Okay. very true, and we're talking about a community of communities, around the City of Greater Sudbury, and they all have many unique needs and unique demographics and different types of housing. The valley is, you know, low density, spread out. When you start to get more toward the center of the city, you've got more high density apartment units and buildings. So sitting as a group of councillors around the table, and we have to take into consideration the priorities of everybody with transit and roads and recreation. There are going to be differences. So what I'm hearing from you is that there is a way of focusing on the commonalities between the demographics and between all of the outlying communities, so that as council we can make sure that those common interests are at an acceptable standard.
That is correct.
And then move forward.
Correct. That's
So
exactly what I'm saying.
I'm basically hearing that.
Yes.
The campaign is early. Any ideas on how you expect or how you're hoping to get out to spread your message to the general public?
Well, I've already had a lot of my personal friends and my campaign team around me offer to help me get out to reach out to voters to get my message across. So I plan on doing a lot of door-to-door canvassing, potentially a telephone call, and whatever I can do to get my message across.
Okay. You're using social media a lot.
I am. I have a Facebook page. You can check that out at www.facebook.com. McCarthy/4. That's the number 4.
So if they put Robert McCarthy in Facebook, or what would they put on their search?
Robert McCarthy for Greater Sudbury Council.
And so that should get them to your page.
Correct. Yes, it will.
Okay. It's like a Google search.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I also am on Twitter.
Okay.
My Twitter handle is @VoteMcCarthy12, all lowercase.
Okay.
And I also have a campaign email address that I set up, which again is all lowercase. It's McCarthy12campaign@gmail.com.
Okay. And just like, have we missed any issues that you want to address or you want people to be thinking about in terms of moving forward before we wrap things up in about 5 minutes? Are there any things that you want to say to listeners right now that we haven't covered yet? So I always want to make sure that I don't miss anything that a person
Absolutely.
wanted to say. You know, we've got 40 minutes and it seems like a long time until you're actually here, and it just runs right through.
Absolutely.
Anything that you want to mention?
Absolutely, there is actually. The main thing for me, the one that I'm going to basically run on, is ensuring that the Ontario Ombudsman is reinstated.
Okay,
To
good.
have to have their powers back in council to oversee ethics and accountability around the table.
Okay, you feel that's important?
Absolutely, it definitely is important for that
Okay.
oversight.
Any reasons why you feel it's important?
Just for the citizens, to
Okay.
give them assurance that they're being properly represented by the 13
Good.
people on city council.
Good. That's good. It's definitely a high priority with most people.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
For the accountability. I guess the final point is more or less to wrap up. And we talked about this before we came on the show, and I liked your perspective. Do you feel that it's a battle between you and the other people running on Ward 12?
You mean the competitors? The
Yeah.
people also running?
Yeah.
Not at all. I don't consider myself running against anybody. I am running for the constituents of Ward 12. I think that's a more positive,
Good.
running for someone as opposed to against something.
Good, and I know we talked about this before we came on air, and it was nice to hear that you know, there are other people who realize that this election campaign should not be one of showing the voters who the least favorable choice is, but it should be a matter of hearing what everybody stands for, getting to know the people who are running, and then being able to select the person they feel is the best person to move forward for the next 4 years. Not necessarily feeling that they're selecting the least of the worst,
Mm-hmm.
but the person who is more in tune with what they feel they are looking for.
Correct. It's important to not vote for the lesser of two evils, as the old saying goes, but it's important to vote for a candidate, again, whether that's mayor, city council, or at all levels of government, to vote for someone that not only necessarily that you agree with as far as policy is concerned, but also someone that inspires you
Did you have confidence?
to vote. Exactly, that you have confidence in it at a personal level as well.
And really, you know.
And if I may add to that, I'm sorry.
No.
If I may add to that, I would like, at the end of the day, whoever whoever the mayor and city councilors become voters, made that choice. It's a democracy. It's a wonderful thing. Voters are never wrong.
That's a good perspective as well. No, that's good. I'm glad. I know that between now and October, we'll get you into the studio at least one or two more times as we talk, as more specific issues come up and we start to get into more details. This introductory session is good because it gives people a chance to get to know the candidates. And as I was saying, if you happen to miss any of the live broadcasts today, if you go to thelearningclinic.ca, you will be able to find a videotape recording of the show and be able to listen to it as you wish. And I know that all of the city councilors, all the candidates are being invited to come in and do the same thing. So my goal from doing this is that sometime in August, this almost turns into like a meet the candidates night online, where you can actually go and listen to each of the candidates, go through their issues and get to know the people who are running. So like you say, you're voting for.
Correct,
somebody,
exactly.
not against something.
Yes.
Robert McCarthy, thank you for spending some time.
Thank you very much. If I may say one more thing very
Absolutely.
quickly. Thank you very much. I would just like to thank my entire campaign team for all the work they have done so far. With that, this wouldn't be possible without any of you, in particular my campaign manager, Chrissy Lynn Trudell.
Great. It's always, you always got to remember the people behind it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Robert.
Thank you very much.
Just want to remind people that you're listening to the Learning Clinic on CKLU 96.7 FM. I will be back very shortly. I want to remind everyone as well that at 2 o'clock we have Franz Jelinas, who is going to be the candidate for the Ontario NDP party in Nickelbelt. Franz will be in here at 2 o'clock. And we will have another segment on at 1 o'clock. I'm just trying to finalize and get things arranged for that 1 o'clock show. So again, at 2 o'clock for sure, Franz Jelinas will be in here meeting with me, and we'll be talking for a good 40 minutes or 45 minutes about the NDP platform in Nickelbelt. This is the Learning Clinic. I'm your host, Bob Kirwan, and stay tuned to CKLU.